Well, hello everybody and welcome to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. I'm your host, Jesse Showalter. It is Wednesday and we are continuing on in our XD Daily Creative Challenge. We've got Sam Peterson in the chat right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hop over to Behance so you can interact in the chat, talk with us, ask questions, tell us what you like to do on a Wednesday besides watch amazing Adobe streams and design cool stuff. Let me see, anybody else come into the chat? When you come into the chat, tell me if you prefer coffee or tea on a Wednesday morning. Tell me, and then if you put a little emoji, that's what I say, do emoji. And I don't know how you can do an emoji of coffee or tea, but figure it out. Anna says hello. Winish is in the chat. Let me also know where you're coming from. I'd love to hang out and talk with you, answer any questions today here on the XD Daily Creative Challenge. Oh, lots of people popping in right now. We got Pranati and Cindy and Anna and all sorts of people and talking about the Daily Creative Challenge. What is the Daily Creative Challenge? Well, it's a way for you to sharpen your skills inside of Adobe XD in just 9 challenges. And so sad, little tear coming down. We are already on challenge number 7. That means there's only 2 more challenges left. But don't worry, there's lots of great content here on Behance, streaming all day, every day. And so let's just take a look really quickly at the schedule. Check out all the great things we've seen today. Earlier we had Julia with the Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge. She's been spilling coffee everywhere. Somebody throw a coffee cup emoji in the chat for Julia from a homegirl. We had Branding and Identity with Naoma from Nuevo Studio. And Claudia's just like one of the best hosts ever, I feel like. She's fantastic. Right now we're doing the XD Daily Creative Challenge, but stick around after this is done because we got Drawing Along with Kyle T. Webster and a Design Off with Voodoo Val and Meredith Schomburg, which is going to be lots and lots of fun. Wendy is jumping in. She prefers tea. We got Winish from Rotterdam in the Netherlands. Wow. Martha says went to a funeral, met the accountant for taxes. So glad to be here now. Yeah, sounds like a tough day. We'll be sending out thoughts and prayers to you. Okay, let me see. Monica's from Tijuana, Mexico, drinking coffee. Love it. Absolutely love it. And Helena put, I think, a little coffee cup for Julia for all of her spillage and mishaps. Well, if you'd like to get started with us, you can grab the starting file right here. Today's name of today's stream is School is Cool, which is going to be absolutely cool. You know what's even cooler? Joining the Discord server, the Adobe XD Discord server, where there's over 36,000 creatives. And you can share your work, get feedback, make friends, and you can find that at bit.ly/XD Discord. Jump in right now, start chatting and posting your work, because at the end of this stream today, I'm going to be taking a look at a bunch of work that's posted there in the Discord, be giving you some of my feedback and critique before the stream ends. Well, last thing we'll mention is if you want to know a little bit more about Adobe XD, make sure you jump over to letsxd.com. Howard Pinsky's done a great job at letting everybody know what's going on with XD. And I love this little tab right here, the What's New tab. It's going to give you quick, bite-sized, snackable little things about what's happening in XD, scroll groups, stacks. You got audio playback, anchor links. Each release has its own little set of videos, which is super cool, fun, and fantastic. Sam Peterson moderating through some great links in the chat. Let's jump over to our file for the day and get started. Let's look at our starting file. We are on challenge number 7, Wednesday the 15th. We're gonna be designing a course experience for a summer school app, because it's a thing. School's been messed up for a lot of kids, and we very well might need to have better online experiences for school just in general. That's the way it's going. So let's design a cool school application for the kiddos. Let's do it for the kids, all right? We're gonna focus on creating just a fun and engaging experience, maybe some sounds, some animations, some transitions, some fun stuff like that. And there's a couple little resources in here. They might actually be over by the artboard on yours, but you can grab any of these little resource illustrations to use, and we have a starting artboard. Let's jump in and let's see what we're gonna do with this thing. I have, one thing I've kind of done is I've gone in and I had this Illustrator file. I brought out this illustration and I threw it in there, so it was all kind of messy. If you ever get that, you might wanna mask your all of your images in your background. How I did that was I just took a shape, I laid it on top, I grabbed everything underneath, this big crazy thing, see how it expands out past the artboard? We don't want that. And these books were also expanding out past the artboard. Every time I clicked on it, it would just explode the whole thing out and got in my way. I just like to throw that thing in a mask, and then I like to lock it. Now we can work on top of it without it exploding outside the artboard every time, so we see everything that's overhanging. And I tell you right now, I'm not quite sure about this yellow. I'm thinking school, we really should be encouraging kids to be a little bit more creative. Let's go with kind of like a fun purpley color. I feel like purple just has those connotations of creativity. Let's do that, shall we? So now that I'm here, I'm gonna take my background, lock it up. We're feeling pretty good about that. I kind of liked this left anchored asymmetrical thing. I do so much stuff that's symmetrical. I figured we would do something a little asymmetrical, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, why don't we do a little basic navigation? I'm thinking this is the course page. We might build the category page later, but let's say a kid has clicked on an individual course and they want to see their progress on that course. Why don't we do something kind of fun for them right here? I'm going to bring this down. Everything's a little bit rounded. Everything's a little bit fun. Let's do that. Rounded and fun, not really sharp and angular. I'm going to call this in my layers panel NavBG. I'm going to take an ellipse. I'm going to draw an ellipse over it. Whoop, just like that. Remember, me and Howard Pinsky are having a little sound off competition. His is boop. Mine is whoop. Everybody throw some praise emoji hands in the chat if you prefer whoop. And if you like boop, that's cool too, because we like Howard. Howard's a cool dude, so we will allow it. All right, why don't we pick a fun contrasting color? I kind of just see this orange right there and it stands out, or maybe purple and kind of a lighter color orange would be nice. Let's do that. We don't need this circle to be so big. We don't want it to be inside, so it looks like a giant toggle switch. We'd like it to be on the outside. And why don't we just create a little play button? That way, when a student comes here, they can just press the play button, pick up right where they left off, and start going. So I'm gonna draw a little polygon. I'm gonna keep it with the three sides of the polygon, but I'm gonna soften it, take the border off, and we have a little play button. Now, you'll notice, this is always a fun one to talk about. If I mathematically balance the play button, the triangle inside of the circle, it doesn't look right. It looks off balance. It's mathematically there, but because it's so heavily weighted on the backside, we're going to optically balance or visually balance, which is kind of cheating, but it looks a little bit better, doesn't it? So we're gonna group that together. Let's call that play button and hit Command or Control K to make a component out of it, because you know what? You never know. You never know when you're gonna need it, okay? So I think I wanna give this just a little bit more space. And while we're here, why don't we drag in some smart guides down the left-hand side, just for funsies, shall we? This one's a little bit far away, so let's just go from there. We're gonna move our smart guide out of the way really quickly. We wanna be about 18 pixels away from the side, so both of our gutters here kind of match, okay? So we're just playing with things. Let's, Chris Lena says, say zonk. I'm not sure if I'm a zonk kind of guy, but we'll try it. I'll try to throw it in for you, okay? I'm gonna open up a little application I have called Icon Jar, and why don't we just look for some stuff that we could throw in here, shall we? Let's do it. Let's do something, I don't know, I really, this is fully a concept, so we're not being really serious about what these icons mean, but let's throw in a little grid icon. I feel like that's a cool one. And we should probably have some sort of profile. Actually, you know what? Let's use a little plugin, since we love plugins so much. Plugins are fun. Let's use this one called Icons for Design, and I'm gonna say user. Let's do user. Let's just click that. It pops it right there. Let's do another one and do grid. Ooh, let's do that one. So now what I love about this is they're matching like weights and styles, which is kind of nice. So why don't we do that and that and that, and we will just try to distribute evenly. Okay, so we just want to make sure everything's lined up real nice. And we can be a little bit, there we go, a little bit looser about those. Let's head back to our actual layers panel. Let's grab all these layers, grab them all together and call it navigation. Now, I don't think actually that I like this icon the way it is. So why don't we do borders instead and increase the size of that border. Hopefully it'll match our other icon a little bit. And I'll tell you what, I also don't like how insane these are. I tell you what, I'm gonna get rid of that one completely. Go back to our plugins. Let's go back and find user, and do we have kind of like an emptied version of it? We totally do. Good. I love the lined version is much better. It matches the lined version of the other icon that we have. Let's just go ahead and paste that stinker in right there. Looking good. Okay, great. Now let's take our, again, I'm not the biggest fan of how dark these are. So why don't we pick kind of a nicer gray? And I feel like that's a little too chunky. Let's go to 0.5. Did you know you can do decimals in the strokes in XD? I totally knew that. If you knew that, let me know. It's a good little trick. Okay, I like our navigation. Why don't we just take that, again, make it a component. You know why? Because you never know when you're gonna need a component. Okay, green color is associated with education. That is true. That is true. Perfection is not always symmetrical, Cornell says. Agreed, and I agree, because I just did something asymmetrical, so. All right, I'm going to create a little box here. Let's take the border off of it, drop a little shadow on it. I tell you what, let's have some fun. Why don't we pick our purple color? Let's lighten it up a little bit, and we're gonna bring the opacity of that thing way down, and let's create a little bit of a nice glowing kind of shadow. So I like to find the color and then just head down a little bit so it's dark. I think that looks kind of nice. We might need to make it a little bit more subtle. I'm not sure. Okay. Now here's what we want to do. I want to be able to see each of the modules inside of this individual course, right? You could think of them as chapters or so, or something like that. So why don't we do an ellipse, and we're going to have something right here that denotes that thing. Okay, so again, shadow, really light, real chill. Okay, and then why don't we put some text in here? Okay, we'll call this one introduction. That text is pink. I don't know why it's pink, but why don't we make it not pink? I'll tell you, I think that looks a little bit better, doesn't it? A little bit more standard. We're using Sophia Pro today. Let's go bold with the title and move it over here. And then why don't we divide it by 2? We're at 11. That could be satisfactory, but let's move it down to 8, semi-bold to medium. And then we will actually take the color and just lighten that up as well. We're gonna cheat a little bit on our little ×2 grid. We're just gonna bump it up to 12 because 11's pretty small for legibility. We don't wanna do that. So what I'm gonna do now is grab this. Let's go back to our plugins. Let's head out and find content generator, because all we really need is a little paragraph. Let's find ourselves a paragraph and turn that into area text. See how it's spread out super wide like that? We don't want that. We want it to be controlled like this. Okay, now we've controlled the text. We want to make sure it's left aligned. Everything is lining up. That line height is real high. So let's bring it down just a little bit. And have you seen the little red dot at the bottom of the text areas? If I double click that, it will expand to fill in the entirety of that text field. But maybe that's not what I want. Maybe what I want to do is go like this, maybe 3 lines. Let's take this little group of text and let's center it, okay? I'm thinking about doing something here in a second. I have an idea. Let's see if it works out. Let's go to our plugin, or excuse me, our layers, and let's grab the rectangle. Let's grab all this. Let's group it together. We're gonna call it card. If I'm working kind of fast, let me know. I walk fast, think fast, talk fast, design fast. So Chris says, do you draw or think about what each bottom or application will do in a coding or user sense, Jesse? Let me see. Zonk, Chris. Zonk. No, I'm just kidding. Do I draw or think about what each bottom or application will do? Of course, this is kind of a concept, so we're not putting as much in-depth thought to it, but I do think about those things. So here's what I'm gonna do. Check this out. I'm gonna turn padding on. Have you played with padding? I'm gonna turn on the padding, and here's why I'm gonna do that. Because I should now be able to extend out the text, and the padding will stay consistent with what has already been assigned to it when we turned padding on, okay? If the padding's a little bit off, like for instance, this should be 24, and the bottom should be about 24, right? And we can kind of cheat and move it right up to the bottom of that text. That can be good. We like what we're doing there, okay? But here's why I want to do it, because I'm going to put a little image or something in here in a second, but what I really want to do is I want to take this card. I tell you what, let's put the image in there first. I have all those resources that I put in the starting file. I also saved them over here on the desktop. So I'm going to let me see, let's bring an image in here and just drop it on the pasteboard out there and just bring it inside. A little apple for an introduction, right? That makes sense, pretty good. Like we haven't started that. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hit Command and Control K to make a component out of this card. And I'm gonna give it, here's the default state. I'm gonna give it a new state called open, okay? What is open gonna do? It's literally just gonna open up the text. So now we have open and we have close. So tap, you can tap on it, open that thing up, okay? Is there a specific tool or feature we're focusing on today? Not really. We're kind of just trying to create an engaging experience using lots of different features and trying to start bringing all these things together using Adobe XD. But this one will be pretty fun right here. So why don't we're going to take our card, we're going to go into the prototype tab, we're going to tap, and we are going to auto animate to the next state. And why don't we give it a little bit of a snap and 0.5 seconds, okay? Why don't we go to the other state and we'll just go back the other way to the default. Everything should be great. And now we should be able to open it up and read the rest of the description or the syllabus of that module. That's pretty cool. Okay, I'm digging that. Why don't we also go back to design, and I'm thinking, let's create a new instance of this component, and let's call this Math A. Let's call it Math A, shall we? We shall. Okay. For some reason, I had center aligned text on that headline. We don't want that. Okay, so let's take that and let's replace the image there. So we have something else. But I'm thinking we should take these little guys right here. This little ellipse with the apple on it. Let's group it together and call this icon. Okay? Yeah, let's call it bubble or something like that. Okay? I'm gonna press Command or Control K. I'm gonna make a component out of my bubble. Typos galore here. Sorry, Chris Lena, at least you didn't spell the word zonk wrong. Chelsea says, how could you show that there is more text to view? A scroll bar? Absolutely, you could put a little scroll bar in there. Totally up to you. But what we're doing right now is creating another state for this guy. And you know what, before we create another state, I always like to, this is how I have to get it in my head. If I'm creating component states, I want to create all the assets for the states that will be there. And then I want to turn them on and off and animate things as I see fit, right? With the other states. So with that little bubble selected, let's open it up. Let's add some other things there, shall we? I'm going to put another ellipse there. And I'm going to turn the shadow off, and let's do a little border instead, shall we? Let's do the border. It's going to go inside. Watch this. I'm going to do a little gray border. Okay. Let's call this ring background. I have an idea. Maybe we'll do a little graph, a little chart thing here. Okay. The second one, why don't we choose like a completion color, like green, something a little chill and mellow. We'll call this complete. We'll just call this pie chart like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that shape into a path by pressing enter. See how we went from having a circle to a little pen kind of icon right there? Well, now we know that it's opened up. I'm going to hold down Option and I'm going to delete. I'm going to press delete and it's going to split. It's going to open up the path for me. Okay. Pretty cool, pretty cool. What that does though is it removes my ability over here in the properties panel of making it an inside or an outside kind of shape. So with that said, we just want to have it selected and size it into place for our pie chart and turn on the little round guy. Look at that. Okay, so let's put those together. We'll just call this pie chart. Okay, and now we can either have like nothing with a little icon there, or you can have a pie chart there. And I suppose inside of our pie chart, come on now, we should have a little percentage. So let's bring some text in here and go 75%. And why don't we make it that same green color so everything is matching and coming together. We'll put it right there in our pie chart, turn it off. That is, excuse me, let's take the opacity to it down. Aha, to the whole pie chart, bring the whole thing down. There we go. Now we have our bubble. Let's create that second component. We'll call it pie chart. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. We're gonna head into our pie chart just like that. Crank it up, take our image, crank it down, okay? Boom, just like that. I love it, okay? So we have each of these, we can just delete out of there. And look, we have our card. Just draw it right back in there. Beautiful. Okay, and now we can select which one do we want. We want to have the bubble with the default state, just like so. All right, with that being said, let's create a few copies of this. And why don't I just use a repeat grid? Whoop. What? Just like that. Okay, great. We're gonna just mess with the spacing a little bit. Pretty cool. And I should be able to, since all these have the prototype on them now, I should be able to extend out, but the rest of them don't move, which is always interesting, right? Okay. Well, that's a little bit of a problem, but we could figure out a way to fix that. We're just going to space these out without the repeat grid. Just like that. And I tell you what, I'm going to put all these cards together, group them together, call them cards, and turn vertical scroll grouping on. And while I'm here, I'm going to just create another one and another one like so. So now we should be able to press play and scroll through all of those. Oh, we want our navigation to be above it, obviously. So it scrolls, everything scrolls behind. That's pretty cool. Can you use stacks with repeat grid to make it work? That might actually be the answer. That could be the answer. Let's take the cards here and let's just try stacks like that. Does it? No, it doesn't quite stack out quite yet. Okay, we're having a little bit of some issues here, and it's getting very, very hot inside of my office. But oh my goodness, it's already, look at the time. We don't have too much more time. I'm gonna have to work a little bit on this and finesse the prototype of it and then put it up on my Instagram, post it in Discord, do that whole kind of thing. So we're gonna have to do that here in a little bit. But for now, I'd like to kick back over and take a look at some great work that was submitted yesterday. So first, I wanted to point this one out. This one was by Mo3. I'm gonna pump up this guy real quick and let's replay it. And there were some sounds. Listen. Lot of sound engineering going on. A lot of audible sounds happening there. Really, really cool. This was from one of the previous days. This is from Angela, and this is her submission for the Minecraft video game AnchorLink website. Let's take a look at this bad boy right now. Nice. Clean. Love that. There's that fixed side navigation. The only thing I would recommend is maybe having a little bit more contrast right here on the navigation. It looks like maybe it just kind of like it disappears when it goes on top of white. So maybe think about that. Howard Pinsky actually had a really fun trick about having a back to top menu item appear right about there. Here, let me move myself out of the way. Right about here. Pretty fun little trick. Look on Let's XD for the solution to that one. This is also by Angela. This is her day 5 submission for the campsite finder. Let's take a look at this. I didn't realize I had 2 submissions from Angela that I was looking at today. All right. Got that scroll group working. Very, very nice. Love it. I like the curvature up here. And is that Jennifer Aniston in the avatar? Okay. Okay, let's see. Like it. Yep, everything scrolls really, really nice. It's just so fun to play with those scroll groups. It does so much without having to do very much at all, right? It looks really impressive. Colleen says, darn, I totally missed out on most of the session. That's all right, you can catch the replay. This one's from Anders Graham. It's for, I think, the campsite finder. Oh no, this was yesterday's challenge. Let's take a look at it. Let's see if we have any sounds that come with this one. All right. Got some scrolling going on. Love it. Super clean. The only thing I'm going to pause right here. The only thing I would say is I'm not the biggest fan at the size of this. It takes up a little too much. I'd like to see a little bit more of that card coming over from the left-hand side. So maybe these have to be just a little bit more narrow. Let's keep going. Let's see what he's got. Okay. Is there, ooh, nice little component state, being able to like something. And then he opens up the map. Hover states. No hover states on a mobile, but I get you're having a lot of fun. You're playing with interactions. Really, really cool. You click it. You're using that same interaction there. Super fun. Love it. The only thing I would say is maybe think about taking that state you have for the actual element of the fjords right there, and then reworking it so it has a better interface element or a better way that it's applied for this specific map interface. Maybe it's smaller, you're offering a little bit more information you didn't see on the original screen. That could be kind of cool. Oh, I missed this part. What is this? Heading over to favorites. It's very smooth, nice transition. Okay, I'm not the biggest fan of this layout. I feel like you're missing, you're kind of dwindling what the usage of this imagery right here. You could spread those out a little bit. I think that'd look really nice, but I like carrying this line through the rest of the design. Pretty slick. We got one more we'll take a look at, and this one's from Pradma SS. These links literally came right out of our Behance, so make sure you submit your work in Behance. Very nice. Oh, that was a nice sound. Oh, kind of cool. Interesting. Oh, I know that sound. Does anybody know that sound? I think that's the Steam video game sound for notifications. I like it. I don't know where you found that stock sound, but I'm into it. The only thing I would say is, and I probably gave you a bad impression of this one, is watch out for the clarity on these little featured buttons. Well, everybody, again, really quickly on the schedule, we have only about 30 seconds before we have to get going, but stay tuned for Draw Along with Kyle T. Webster. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Wednesday. Keep designing, post your stuff in the Behance, and stick around for amazing, great content here on Behance. We'll see you soon.